So here's how you're going to work on your breathing. So you're just laying on your back with your knees bent, feet flat on the floor, arms are resting. Just take a nice relaxed lay on the floor. Just give yourself that time to just take a moment and relax all your muscles. And then when you take a deep breath in, I want you to think about expanding your ribs all the way around. So they're going to go into the floor as well as kind of up. So you're filling up your whole space, and you're not just thinking on the front, but think about your ribs on the back. So totally filling up your lungs. So you're going to take a deep breath in, and then exhale, making a ha sound. So you exhale going inhale again, and exhale. And while you're exhaling, what you should be feeling is a little bit of activity down deep in your core. So those pelvic floor muscles, so there's a little bit of activity in there. On your inhale, everything should be relaxed. Belly and pelvic floor should be relaxed. You shouldn't feel any activity like down deep in your core. But on the exhale, you should feel like there's a little bit of a contraction going on. So you're working on feeling both the relaxation and the contraction of your pelvic floor muscles. So we need that to contract just like any other muscle, where you wouldn't have like your biceps on contraction all day. So you don't want to think about doing your Kegels all day. So we need to feel a contraction and a relaxation of those pelvic floor muscles. Okay, so nice and relaxed on the floor. Inhale, filling up your lungs all the way around. Feel your ribs expand into the floor and out to the sides. Exhale, and feel that contraction pulling up through your deep core muscles. And that's how you breathe. The next thing you're going to work on is releasing your hip flexor muscles. So we've talked about how when you're pregnant, your pelvis can tip forward and shift anteriorly from the weight of the baby. And what that does is it pulls your pelvis down and really tightens up your hip flexor muscles. So to start releasing them, you're going to take a half kneeling position like so. Make sure your front foot is right underneath of your knee, and you're up nice and tall. So you can practice your breathing in this position. What you want to do is you want to tuck your pelvis under. So I'm just going to move my hands so you can see that better. So here's the untucked pelvis, and there's the tucked pelvis. Okay, so you just squeeze your glutes, and what that does is it engages your abdominal muscles and starts putting your hip flexor muscles on that down leg on a stretch. So it's starting to help release them. So this is going to help release your hip flexor muscles that are tight from your pelvis being misaligned. So again, we have a relaxed pelvis. Tuck your pelvis under, tuck your tailbone, and then you're just going to shift forward slightly. You may not need to go very far at all to feel a really huge stretch here on your down leg, and that's totally fine. Engaging your glutes is what gives you that nice good stretch to begin with. So you release back, keeping your pelvis tucked under, and then you shift forward, hold for 1 second, and release back. And just aim for doing 6 reps, pausing for a second while you're out, and then switching legs and doing 6 on that side as well. So training your core stability is going to be the best way to start regaining that core strength, and most appropriate for bellies that are healing from maybe a diastasis recti or C-sections. So these are going to be belly safe exercises for you to help strengthen your core. So dead bug is what you're going to do. So you lay on your back, and you can take one knee up at a time. And you're just going to keep your knees bent in a tabletop position, and then extend your arms up. Okay, and what you're thinking about here is your breath, making sure that you are taking those nice deep breaths in, expanding your ribs, and then exhaling and engaging your core. So just holding here, if you're just starting back into your workouts, or if you're recovering from the pregnancy delivery, then this may be enough that you can feel this in your core, and this may be enough for you. If you're looking for a little bit more of a progression, you can take one arm overhead at a time. And this is nice and slow. It's not meant to be fast. Remember, we're just building our abs and core back after baby. Okay, once the arms and legs become easier, then you can add one leg touching down at a time. Okay, like so, and then you can gradually introduce working your opposites. Okay, but just know that this is your good starting position here. You can hold for, anywhere between like 10 and 30 seconds here, making sure you're breathing throughout. Okay, and that's where you want to start with your training your core. So you lay on the floor, make sure that your toes are pointing straight ahead, arms can be resting beside you, and the first thing you do before you even lift your hips off the ground is squeeze your glutes nice and tight. So you want to contract your glutes, get a nice squeeze, and then press your heels down into the floor, keep your glutes nice and tight, lift your hips up off the ground. And you're only going to the point where your hips take you, and come back down, keeping your glutes squeezed, just touch the floor gently, and come back up. So if you try and force the range of motion, like here, I can get a lot higher. What that does is it arches your lower back and compresses your lumbar spine, which is not good. So we want to keep the glutes working, so squeeze your glutes tight, lift up, drive your heels down into the floor, come down, just graze the floor, and then come right back up and down. So keeping your glute muscles nice and tight throughout. And again, don't worry about how high you're lifting your hips. That's not the goal. The goal is to work your glutes and your hamstrings.